Good evening and welcome to another edition of JU Dolphins Up Close. I'm Scott Manzi. As the calendar year comes to a close, we can look back on what was a banner year again for JU athletics and what sets up to be another great year in 2015. We saw conference titles claimed by women's rowing, lacrosse, and track and field, contributing to a fourth Sherman Day trophy. We also welcomed several new coaches to the Dolphin pod. Tony Jasic with men's basketball, Mauricio Ruiz for men's soccer, Jennifer Steele to lead softball, Marcy Robles became the first woman to direct a men's program at JU with the rowing squad, and Julie Darty continued the tradition of excellence in volleyball by leading the women to a second consecutive ASUN Conference championship. There's a lot that goes into preparing an athlete to perform at their best. This is the start of a behind-the-scenes look at how JU student-athletes prepare off the playing field to excel on it. Mindy Black is a sports and lifestyle nutritionist who works with various JU teams to help them understand you get out of your bodies what you put in.
Hi, I'm Mindy Black, registered dietitian, and today we're going to be walking through the grocery store to answer some of the questions that you may have when trying to shop. At grocery stores, it can be completely overwhelming due to the fact that they add thousands of new products each year to the shelves. There are 3 rules that you want to remember before you enter. Number 1, always come with a list so you don't forget all the ingredients that you need for dinner. Number 2, never come hungry. You'll always end up with things that don't need to be in your basket if so. And number 3, follow the perimeter of the store first. That's where all the good stuff is, and use only the last 10 to 15% of your grocery cart to have your aisle items. Let's go on in and check it out. So the produce section is an excellent place to start when you're in the grocery store. Not only is produce a great way to get in snacks and sides to your meals with low calories, it's also high in fiber. As you'll notice when you go through the produce section, there's a ton of different colors. You have a rainbow of colors in your produce, and each color represents a different nutrient. So you want to make sure you get a wide variety of colors in your basket. When picking out produce, look for things that are local and look for things that are in season. If they're in season, they're usually a little bit cheaper, and if they're local, they usually have a lot more nutrients because they've been freshly picked instead of shipped over from other countries. When we're looking at one item in particular, you want to pick the deeper the color, that means the more nutrients. So you want to pick the deepest colors and the most bright colors. So if we were looking at red apples, this apple, for instance, would have a lot more nutrients than, say, this apple. So you always want to pick the deepest colors, and you want to look for fruits and vegetables that don't have any bruises on them or really firm to the touch. So if you're looking at asparagus, what you want to do is you want to look for straight stalks that are medium thickness. If they're too thin or too thick, they probably aren't going to be for you. You also want to make sure the heads of the asparagus have tight heads. You don't want to have them opened up already. You also don't want to find heads that are wilted like this one. So you want to find hydrated looking asparagus. These would be good for about 4 days in your refrigerator. If it's more affordable for you to go frozen, you can absolutely do a great job with frozen vegetables. You just want to make sure that you're getting the vegetable only. You want to go with fresh or frozen and make sure just the ingredient that you're looking for is in there. If you go with canned, we want to make sure that it's canned in its own fruit or vegetable juice. It can make a big difference if not. You'll always see on the front what it's canned in, so it'll either be canned in heavy syrup, light syrup, or its own fruit juice. And you may not think that's a big deal, but for instance here, we have a difference of 7 grams of sugar to 22 grams of sugar, and that's just for one serving. There's actually 3.5 servings in this, and so if you tend to eat the whole can, we can be talking about a ton of added extra sugars. Another alternative to fresh fruit would be dried fruit. And this is an excellent way we can get in more nutrients if you're not a big fresh fruit fan. Just be careful of what's in your dried fruit. For instance, this California raisins, if you look back at the ingredient list, only contains raisins. So it would be only basically what your grape is dehydrated. However, if we pick up the sweetened dried cranberries, if you look on the back, the second ingredient is sugar. So we want to make sure that whatever dried fruit we're picking up has only one ingredient or possibly 2, but you don't want sugar to be the first or second ingredient in the dried fruit. When picking out meat, there's a few things that we want to look for. Number 1, we want to pick lean cuts that have the least marbleization. Marbleization is the white, fatty parts of meat that you see. The more marbleization, the more saturated fat that you'll be getting. So you can see this, oxtails have the most marbleization, or the highest in fat, whereas if we're comparing a ribeye versus a sirloin, the sirloin has a lot less white marbleization, therefore a lot less fat. The second thing you want to look for when picking out meat is to make sure it's clean and in the package. You'll notice here you don't see any juices, whereas this one, there's some red juice. We don't want to buy this one because it's not as fresh and not as healthy as something that doesn't have the juices. Now, beef is great at times, but we only want to have beef a couple times a week. So if you were looking to have, say, taco seasoning or spaghetti sauce, another alternative would be ground turkey breast. Make sure, however, that you get the ground turkey breast and not the ground turkey. Ground turkey actually includes the entire turkey, and ground turkey breast is just the lean meat. You may not think it's a big difference. They usually will be seen side by side, and they don't look any different from the front. However, if you look on the back, you're going to have a difference of about 6.5 grams of fat per serving. Now, serving is only about the size of a deck of cards, and I don't know many guys that are only going to have a deck of cards worth of hamburgers. So if you're having a bigger serving than that, it could really add up. Seafood is another excellent way you can get in lean protein into your diet. When trying to select fish or shellfish, there's a few rules that we can go with. First, if you're close to a fisherman's market, that's the best way to go, and just ask your local fisherman what has been the most fresh. So what came in today, and that's going to be your best bet. If you don't have that option, you can always come up to the counter at your local supermarket. However, you want to look for fish that are not dull and not smelly. So actually ask the person if you can smell the fish that you're picking out. If it has an odor, it is not fresh. You also have options of doing frozen fish. However, if you're doing this, you just want to make sure that you're getting fish that are not high in mercury. Your fish highest in mercury are going to be your shark, your mackerel, the bigger type fishes. And so when looking at frozen fish, you want to go with your snapper, your mahi, your tilapia over the swordfish, your mackerel, and your shark. When looking at eggs, there's several questions you might have: white or brown, organic or cage-free. It really depends on what you're looking for. When we're looking at organic versus cage-free versus regular, basically what organic means is they're not any nutritionally different than the regular eggs. However, they are not grown with pesticides, hormones, or antibiotics. Now, cage-free just means that the chicken's allowed to run around without a cage when the other ones are caged in. So that's more of a personal choice for you on the humanitarian levels. As far as brown versus white eggs, you'll notice that there's a large change in price. The brown eggs are generally a lot more expensive. There is no nutritional difference between brown eggs and white eggs. The brown eggs are actually produced from a hen that has a brown ear, whereas the white eggs have a white ear. So don't waste your money on that area. However, the organic eggs can be a benefit if you're someone that eats a lot of eggs. When it comes to milk, we have a ton of options nowadays. Cow's milk, goat's milk, almond milk, rice milk. It's really hard to choose if you're overwhelmed. And it really depends on what your goals are. Cow's milk, we have fat-free, low-fat, and whole-fat milk, which may not seem like a big difference, but the whole-fat milk has about 8 grams of fat per cup, whereas the fat-free has 0. So if you're trying to watch your fat intake, then the fat-free option would be best. Now, cow's milk and goat's milk does contain lactose, and a lot of people are sensitive to lactose. If that's the case, then you can go to soy milk, almond milk, or rice milk. The cons with rice milk and almond milk are they don't have as much protein as the other three do. So if you're looking for protein content, the soy milk and the cow's milk are going to be your best bets. If you're someone that drinks a ton of milk, just like the eggs and the produce, we want to make sure that you're having organic milk so that you can avoid the hormones. Yogurt is an excellent way that you can get protein and calcium into your diet. However, there are a ton of selections that you can choose from. When picking out a yogurt, you want to look for a couple of things. The first thing you want to look for is the sugar content. You want to make sure it's no more than 15 grams of sugar. And then really make sure that you're looking every time, because certain brands will have a higher sugar content and a lower sugar content one. You also want to look for protein. The Greek yogurts tend to have a lot more protein than the regular yogurts. However, they are a little bit thicker, so some people feel like it's an acquired taste. When looking at cereals or breads or bagels or cereal bars, you have 3 rules. The first rule is that whole grain of some sort has to be the first ingredient. The second rule is that we have to have at least 3 grams of fiber. And the third rule is sugar cannot be the second ingredient. So when looking at the side, we first look at the ingredient list and make sure it's a whole grain. It can be a whole wheat, a whole oat, but it cannot be sugar. The second thing we want to look at is the fiber, which will be found up here. The more fiber, the better, but we want to have at least 3 grams. And then the third thing is we don't want sugar to be the second ingredient. For instance, this one is whole grain wheat and then malted barley. So this would pass our cereal test. When looking at juices, juices are great for nutritional value. However, if you're watching your calories, they're really high in calories for what you get. It takes out the fiber that you would have in natural fruits. If you're trying to add calories to your diet for weight gain, this is a great way that we can do it. However, we want to make sure that you're getting 100% juice. And you can't always look at the front of the label, you always need to look at the back. When we're looking at 100% juice, they may have it on the front, but you always want to look right here above the nutrition facts label and it will tell you exactly how much juice is in there. So just to recap, in order to have a great grocery store experience, you want to make sure that you always come with a list, you never come hungry, and you shop the perimeter first, leaving the aisles to only the last 10 to 15% of your cart area. These are just a few of the tips that will help make a more enjoyable shopping trip. If you need to have more, download the grocery store tour on my website, www.mindyblack.com. Have a great day.
A coach who has brought a winning attitude and smile to campus is continuing to build big things inside the walls of Switcher Gymnasium and outside with the extensive community service projects that the women's basketball team participate in. The story of Yolette McPhee-McEwen, or as we call her, Coach Yo. Coach Yolette McPhee-McEwen knew she wanted to impact others in a positive manner, but Coach was not a moniker she planned on using. That is, until the power of suggestion took over.
When my college coach at Rhode Island told me I should. I got my undergrad degree in business, and so my thought was, I knew I was going to be in a leadership role, but I had my eyes set on being a CEO of a corporate business, and now I'm a CEO of my own program. So I guess I still, accomplished, the path that I wanted, but I just didn't know basketball would be the way.
She may not have known until that point, but it is obvious why others thought that is the route she should take. Basketball was in her blood.
My dad was a basketball coach, so I just grew up in the environment where you play basketball, you go to college, but I didn't have a lot of female examples. So my dad coached men's basketball, boys basketball in high school, so I would always see them go to college. But as I started working on my game and making the commitment to be better, I realized that I was also have an opportunity to play college basketball, mainly because he allowed me to travel and play AAU ball over here in the U.S. in the summers. And so I would hear other girls talking about opportunities they had. It just really opened another avenue that I didn't even think of before.
For an island girl, the opportunity to come to the U.S. to play also offered a chance to experience a completely new situation.
I actually chose it because I had never seen snow. And so I wanted to go somewhere far away that would give me a totally different experience. I credit that to my parents and my mom, especially for just how she raised me, to put myself in uncomfortable environments and to learn how to survive in those things.
Learning how to survive also applied to the early part of her coaching career.
I mean, it was definitely challenging, humbling at times because I took the road less, well, I don't know if I can say less traveled, but it's definitely the blue collar, start from the bottom and work your way up. So I started at a junior college, got my master's paid for through coaching, moved to the Pacific Northwest, moved to the Northeast, and ended up going back to the South, Clemson, South Carolina. I just worked my way up, and it's just a true testament that if you believe and have faith and you work hard, people will recognize it.
That dedication has already worn off on one of her players, junior Brianna Brown.
Someone that many look up to, including myself. Inspirational on the court and off. A great leader. She leads by example.
In her second year at the helm of JU, she knows that it doesn't get any easier.
Every season I get excited because it's a new challenge, and I'm faced with a new challenge this season with a younger team, making sure that they truly understand how to play the game. whereas last year I had upperclassmen that understood easily, and so it's another challenge, but one that I embrace.
This past summer, she was rewarded for her efforts by serving as the head coach of the Bahamian national team, a unique honor that was not lost on her.
I think it brought me to tears anytime that you can represent your country. People don't know this, but about the term before, I wanted to be a part of the team, and my schedule didn't allow. I was going to be an assistant. You know, I played on the national team, on the junior national team. I never had an opportunity to play with the seniors women's team because of the summer school schedule, and I just couldn't get the time. And so when I was approached to be the head coach, there was a no-brainer that I wanted to be a part of that experience and inspire other young athletes to be the best that they can be, through that outlet.
It wasn't only an honor, but also a chance to improve as a coach.
It was tremendous. It was great. It was live reps, whereas as coaches, we have to wait till the season to work on stuff and get better. You get practice, but there's nothing like the game. It's totally different. It allowed me to work on some things that I wanted to see this season with my team, and it just gave me it just made me a better coach, because quickly I had to figure out a way to get 12 women to come to play together as one. And so that's a challenge within itself in 3 weeks.
She had already gone through a similar challenge in getting the veteran Dolphin team she inherited the year before to buy into her style.
She is similar to my high school coach. Up and down, transition-wise, want to get it and go. She can get a little bit rowdy, but that's just her coaching style, and it's what I'm used to. So it wasn't like it was nothing different. I know what she expects. The team knows what she expects, and that's what we need to do.
The transition was helped by a mantra she brought with her: no ceilings, which the players bought into and embraced immediately.
It's funny, and I have to give her a lot of credit. Former player of mine, Nikki Dixon, at Clemson, she's a senior now. We were sitting around and just talking about future goals, and she said, "Coach, when you become a head coach, what's going to be your slogan?" And I said, "You know what? I never thought about it." And she said, "You know what? I think it should be no ceilings." And I said, "Why? What?" She said, "Because you never put a limit on yourself. You just always fight through and push through. You always tell us we can accomplish things that may be bigger than what people feel like, we can accomplish." And I said, "You know what, Nikki? I'm gonna take it."
Whenever she brought the no ceilings to JU women's basketball, I feel like it clicked on everyone. You would think just because you won that game, oh yeah, we won. Oh, but it's another one after that. Oh yeah, we won this practice, but it's another one after that. It never stops.
Another one of her sayings has helped the women focus on the team-first mentality.
Another one of our sayings is "we before me," and so just putting the team before the individual. And we know that we can't, before we go out to games, I always put on the board, we're all we got. We totally have to be there for each other and be one as we, go on the road and compete.
Leadership isn't the only lesson Coach Yo imparts into her players. She also tries to set an example by making her family a priority, which isn't always easy.
It's a challenge, but I would like to credit my MVP, my husband, because I know that I wouldn't be able to balance it all without his support. I think that the administration creates an environment that is family-oriented.
She also wants to pass down the lessons she learned at a young age.
The focus on community service is huge because of just the way I was raised. Being a part of a family of educators, we always had someone in the house that lived with us for 2-3 weeks, at-risk kids, kids just in bad situations for whatever reason. Those same people, when they got on their feet, when they graduated, would always come back and express great gratitude to my parents. I feel like you do good things will always happen to you. And so I just want my players to have that same experience.
Her players are already learning lasting lessons.
That it doesn't stop here. Because I'm a basketball player, she talks a lot about wins and losses, but to take more out of the wins and losses, to better yourself as a person on the court and off the court. Her mentality is to, teach, develop, and inspire, and that's what she does here. So, yes, she's making me a better basketball player, but a better person as well. So when I take a step off the court, then I can grow outside of it.
Does Brown want to follow in her coach's footsteps?
I plan to be Coach O's grad assistant if all falls into place.
And just like her coach, she had no plans to enter the profession until being steered in that direction.
Not coaching, maybe playing, but not so much as coaching until you've been behind someone as great as Coach O and say, well, wow, I want to be in her shoes one day.
For Coach O, it all goes back to her original goal in life: positively impact others.
My number one goal, I don't know if I have several, but my number one goal would be that every player that I come into contact with will have a positive experience with me. Whether that's one where they want to have a family because they see it, they are able to get through tough situations because they've been encouraged by me. Sometimes just the fact that they know that someone loves them and cares about them. That's my number one goal. If I do that, then I've done a job well done.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of JU Dolphins Up Close. For all of us here with JU Athletics, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you all.